Hi everybody, and welcome back to Play It Again. I'm Sue, and I'm so glad that you joined me today. Thank you so very much for spending time with me. I do appreciate it, as always. Today we are going to get to Keith Hampshire, and we have never done Keith on the channel before, and we're going to do his version of The First Cut is the Deepest, and his came out in 1973, and this is a fantastic song. I always like this song. It doesn't seem to matter who does it. I've always liked many versions of this song, and this one is no exception. Before we get going though, if you could all like the video and subscribe to my channel, I would greatly appreciate it. It really does help me to grow. Also, if you are so inclined, you can always become a member of my channel. All right, here we go. Keith Hampshire, 1973, and his version of The First Cut is the Deepest.
I would have given you all of my heart, but there's someone who's torn it apart, and she's taken almost all that I've got. But if you want, I'll try to love again. Baby, I'll try to love again, but I know want you by my side, just to help me dry the tears that I have cried. And I'm sure gonna give you a try, and if you want, I'll try to love again. Baby, I'll try to love again, but I know
I absolutely love this version of the song, and I think out of all the versions that I've heard, this is my favorite. And I think the reason I love it so much is, first of all, his voice. When he goes into that rising part of the song, his voice is so strong and soulful, and it's accompanied by those horns, which is very cool. I really like that. I love his whole arrangement of this particular song, and his voice actually kind of reminds me a little bit of David Clayton Thomas from Blood, Sweat and Tears, who was a fantastic Canadian singer. And interestingly, Keith Hampshire was actually born in the UK, but came over to Canada when he was 6. So he was raised in Canada. So we often associate this song, I think Canadians do, with Keith Hampshire because we were exposed to this one a lot at the time. And it did hit #1 on the Canadian charts. I don't know how it did in the rest of the world, so maybe you guys can tell me, did this particular version have any traction in your area of the world? Because I would like to know that. There was just so many people that covered this song, originally by P.P. Arnold, and of course Rod Stewart did it, and there was just so many people that did this song. Sheryl Crow did it later, I think in the 90s at some point, or the early 2000s. But just an absolutely fantastic song written by the amazing Cat Stevens. But his version, there's something about it, and I do love that soulful sound. And in fact, with the horns, it actually kind of reminds me a little bit of something that Blood, Sweat, and Tears may have done as well. But it just seems to elevate it a lot with this particular version. So that's very, very cool. And I do really, really like his version a lot. Okay, I'm going to rewind a little bit here.
Again, but I know the first cut is the deepest. Maybe I know the first cut is the deepest. 'Cause when it comes to being lucky, she's first. When it comes to loving me, she's the worst. And when it comes to first, that's how I know the first cut is the deepest. Baby, I know the first cut is the deepest.
Absolutely fantastic. I loved revisiting that one today. It was just so good, and I absolutely adore his voice. It is something special. It's very powerful. And I love the background singers too, almost sounding like a choir at times, you know, with the, just doing their ahs most of the time, but really adding something in there with his voice, those fantastic drums, and of course the amazing horns like I was talking about before. It has a much more soulful sounding than some of the other versions of the song, but this is, at least I think for the male versions, my favorite version of this particular song. It is absolutely fantastic. Well, I like this one the best. Anyway, you can tell me which version of this song you like the best. There have been so many people that have done this song and have done such a great job on it. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. It's just such a fabulously written song. So thank you, Cat Stevens, for that fabulous song. Anyway, Keith Hampshire, you know, he had about 3 songs that did really well. He didn't really do much after that in terms of successful kind of singing in the top 40, but he did have his own show on the CBC in Canada in 1974, Keith Hampshire's Musical Machine, so that was kind of cool as well. My fun fact for the day is kind of a cool one in regards to Keith, and those people who are baseball fans may find this one especially intriguing. In 1983, Keith, along with a band called the Bad Boys, recorded a song called OK Blue Jays. And if anybody watches Major League Baseball and has watched the Toronto Blue Jays play, you will be very familiar with this particular song. If you are ever in attendance at a Blue Jays game during the 7th inning stretch, this song is always played and everyone sings it together. So it's become basically a kind of an unofficial anthem of the Toronto Blue Jays. And it is a very fun one. And I always look forward to hearing that song when I actually go to a game to see the Blue Jays play. Anyway, if you know other songs that Keith has done and you'd like me to do some more, please put it down in the comments and I'd be more than happy to do it. Okay, everybody, have a joyful day and I will see you all again next time. Bye-bye.